It is officially CrossFit Games week, so let's kick it off by talking about my podium and my top 10 for the 2025 games. But first, I do want to thank everyone for subscribing to my channel. In my last video, I mentioned that the support on this channel really helps me get opportunities like media passes to the CrossFit Games. And so many of you decided to subscribe and watch my video, leave comments. So I really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can also still do that now. All right, let's talk about the men's side first, because the men's side is incredibly interesting this year. There are just so many men that could end up on top of this podium. James Sprague even talked about it in his Road to the Games.
There is a plethora of guys who could also be atop the podium. Dallin, Jason, Austin, Jay, Ricky, all these guys who you go, if they have a good weekend, they're at the top. There's 10 guys in my mind who could win the CrossFit Games. When you look at the men's field, you go, wow, this is a spectacle from start to finish. Every point matters. This is going to be so close.
And he's right. There are 10 men, essentially, or about 10 men, who could win the CrossFit Games this year. And depending on what events come out, if anyone has any little nagging injuries or has an execution error, who we see at the top of this leaderboard could change drastically. But there are 30 men in the field. But I do think the man who will win the games is in the 10 that I'm about to list. Could someone in the other 20 make it into the top 10? Possibly. I don't think there's a ton of other guys who are likely to make it into the top 10, but I think we're always surprised by somebody. We're going to start with the podium, and we'll start with that third place athlete, and I have Austin Hatfield. Austin Hatfield had his first year at the games last year and finished top 10, despite starting out the competition in a not so great spot, and just sort of built his way up throughout the weekend to a top 10 finish in his rookie season. Super impressive. Then he's come out, and almost everything that he's done since then, he's been near the top of the leaderboard. He finished on the podium at Wodapalooza, didn't win that one. Then he went to Mayhem, won that. Went to the WFP, the World Fitness Project, also won that. I think it would be unwise to count him out to do something big at the games this year and to improve upon his position last year. In second, I have a man that I have said multiple times that I believe he could win the CrossFit Games one day. I'm not making that day this coming Sunday, but I do think he has that ability, and I think we're going to see him on the podium again before that, and soon he'll be a winner of the CrossFit Games as an individual athlete, and that is Dallin Pepper. And I say as an individual athlete because he has won the games before as a teenager, and last year he was on the podium in this same position, second, and I think he's going to stay there. And part of that is because the man I think he's chasing wasn't there last year. But I do think Dallin Pepper has all the pieces, did fantastic in the CrossFit Open, and the Open shouldn't be his game, and qualified online. He didn't do as well as I thought he would do at WFP, but maybe that's just fuel for the fire to give him even more reason to want to show up and show out at the CrossFit Games, and I think he's going to end up back on the podium, Dallin Pepper. The man he's chasing, who, like I said, wasn't there last year, sort of. He was there for a second. But that man is Jeffrey Adler. And we've heard from Jeffrey Adler some, and he says, he doesn't know if he's going to win the games again. He wants to win, and he's going to still compete as long as he can.
I won once. I really want to win twice. And if I can still win, I'll just keep on coming. Why would I stop?
So I think Jeff Adler was one of those people that after he pulled out of the 2024 games, he did not compete after Lazar Jukic drowned. I think a lot of us thought that Jeff might be done with the CrossFit Games. He's not. And if he wins this year, he's probably not done after that either. And I think that he has a good chance of winning this year. It's a weird situation where Jeff is not the reigning champ. That is James Sprague. But it feels like we almost have 2 champions coming in. Well, we have 3. But Jeff didn't defend last year. He didn't lose last year. Yeah, if you don't show up, you kind of lost, but he didn't actually take the test and lose to James Sprague. He just didn't take the test. And now we have him and James and then another winner, Justin Medeiros, taking the test again. And it feels like, and is, the first time both of these winners, the 2023 winner and the 2024 winner, are taking the CrossFit Games test after their win. So it'll be interesting to see how that battle goes. I am picking Jeff Adler to come out on top. Pretty much everyone is. And I also think that this CrossFit Games that we're going into in Albany, where we've heard it's going to be a lot of classic CrossFit, it's going to be a lot of in the gym, in the arena things, aside from that one outdoor event. I think Jeff is good with that kind of stuff. He demolished the in-affiliate semifinals. Like, he had 11 points, I believe, and the next place athlete had 14 more points, more than double the points that Jeff had. What does that tell you about how good and how much of a separation Jeff has from the other athletes? I know he wasn't on the podium at WFP, but he had an execution error on the final event that punished him greatly. Prior to that, he was looking like he could have won it. So I think that he will come into the games even more dialed in, because that's also how he is, incredibly dialed in. And I think he's going to do it again. He's going to win again. Let's talk about the rest of the top 10, because like I said, any of these men, depending on the events and depending on execution, I think almost any of them could end up on the top of the podium. So in 4th, I have your 2024 fittest man on earth. That is James Sprague. Also, I believe the fittest man to ever comment on this YouTube channel. Pretty cool to see his name pop up. Almost swayed me to put him in my top 3, but I have to be honest. And I do expect big things from Sprague. I do think there is a possibility he could win it again. I think Sprague has impressed us all season. Everyone has doubted him because of the way and the circumstances he won the games under. And he's taken that and continued to be impressive. Winning Wodapalooza. No one was calling on him to do that, or very few people were calling on him to do that. And then podiuming at WFP. He's looked pretty good. So he's going to be fighting for that podium and could end up on top of it too. In 5th place, I have Jason Hopper. And if you've seen this channel before, if you've watched my videos before, I just struggle to believe in Hopper. I don't know. He's one of those people, like Dallin hasn't won the games, and I can just believe that he's going to win the games. I've seen things, heard things, watched him execute workouts in ways that make me think he can win the games one day. And I just don't see that from Hopper. I know there's a lot of people who are big Hopper fans, and he's got a good personality. I loved this little post that he put up about buying tickets for the CrossFit Games. Please do that. If you were in the area, if you were in Albany, if you were in my former area, I went to college in Syracuse, go to the CrossFit Games. It's not that far. So please get CrossFit Games tickets if you haven't. And I love that Jason Hopper did that. That's awesome to see him supporting the games like that. I just can't pick him to be on the podium at the games until I see it. I just don't see it from him in the way he executes to believe it until I see it. So I'm keeping him in 5th. In 6th, I have Ricky Garrard. And I hear sometimes that Ricky Garrard is washed, maybe because of his performance last year. He kind of twisted his ankle on Chad a little bit or came down weird. But he was at Torian this year, pretty hard competition, pretty tough programming, and won it pretty easily, winning the majority of the events individually and then winning the whole competition. So I think Ricky Garrard is back. I think Ricky Garrard is competitive in this field, and I think he's for sure top 10, maybe even better than where I have him. But I have him in 6th. In 7th, Justin Medeiros. I'm putting him in the top 10. I think that Justin has had a little bit of a fall from grace at times. He won the games twice, finished pretty poorly after that at the games. I think he's been working on some imposter syndrome type stuff. I think that he's in a better headspace now where he has more in his life than just the CrossFit Games. But I also think he's not training the way that someone like Jeff Adler is training, where he's like, Jeff is like, I want to hurt. I'm going to put in the work no matter how gross it is, no matter how much I have to give up to accomplish this goal. Kind of like who I think is going to win on the women's side. You can probably guess who that is. But I don't see that same mentality from Justin. And I do really believe you need that to win again. And I don't think that's going to happen. But I think he's got top 10 potential for sure. In 8th, I have Roman Krennikov. Roman was someone I felt could win the games at one point. Almost did win the games in 2023, but got injured against Jeff Adler. And I think that was his opportunity. I don't know if we're going to see Roman win the games now. Roman had years he couldn't compete because of visa issues. He finally got here, ended up on the podium a few times, did not win. Got injured the year he looked like he was poised to win. And he's getting older now. I just don't know if he can keep up with the rest of this field at this point. But still very competitive, top 10. In 9th, I have Jay Crouch, and I toyed with putting Jay higher. He did really well in the unaffiliate semifinals, looked pretty good at Torian, not as good as Ricky, so I put Ricky above him. But I haven't seen anything yet from Jay to put him on the podium. And finally in 10th, the people's champ, Colton Mertens. And before people come at me, this would be a huge improvement for Colton. He didn't qualify for last year's games, so I mean, huge improvement that he's here. And his best games finish, I believe, was 19th. So a 10th would be significantly better than he's done in the past in a smaller field because there's 30 athletes as opposed to 40. I think this would be a great position for Colton. I think the reality is that he is just not built the same way as some of these athletes. He has done an amazing job of leaning into the things he's great at and finding ways to overcome his shortcomings. I just don't know if he'll ever be able to close the gap enough to end up on the podium. Maybe if the right events come up, but I think it's unlikely, and I think a 10th place finish would be great for him. So that's my men's list. All these men and this field is incredibly stacked, and this race is going to be so exciting. I think it's going to be a battle, and that's always really fun to watch. The women's side, maybe not. So let's go over there, and I'll talk about my top 3. Should I do this the other way? Should I start with my first place person? I think I am. Usually you go in the reverse order, 3rd through 1st, but the first place is probably the most obvious one, so maybe we just gotta get it out of the way. So in 1st, I have Tia-Clair Toomey. Surprise, I've been saying all year that I thought Tia was going to compete at the games. In her road to the games, it sounded like they weren't sure.
And then we got back to Nashville. She accepted her invite to the CrossFit Games, which I'm really stoked about, but I genuinely didn't think I'd be here today, prepping for number 8.
But I'm not even sure if I believe that. And she's also said that she's tried to retire, many times.
It is the hardest sport to retire from. I've tried to retire so many different times. And every year I think, well, I could just go another year.
And that may be true, but I think that she has this drive, and we saw that in the Road to the Games. That's a very good video. If you haven't watched it yet, you should do that. But we've seen that she has an incredible drive, that she works very, very hard, despite the fact that she looks so much better than so many of the athletes. I mean, Torian had a pretty decent group of people. She won all but one event, and she won some of them by minutes. It's just incredible. It's an incredible outlier. And some people have said it's gotten boring to watch her. And I used to say that. But I've explained on here before that I don't think that's the case anymore. I think with her doing all these other things, adding in the element of motherhood and high rocks, it makes it even more impressive that she manages to be so competitive and better than the rest of the field. And I do wonder if she'll be better than the rest of the field by such a significant margin this year. And I'm interested to see that. And she seems to think everyone's her competition.
I would say my competition is everyone that stands on that start line.
It's definitely not everyone, but maybe there's some people that can give her a run for it in some of the events. Definitely not all of them. So Tia-Clair Toomey, I have her winning her 8th CrossFit Games. And will she retire after this? I don't know. She doesn't know, apparently.
I thought I was done 3-4 years ago, mate. I'm not even kidding.
Is this going to be my final year at the CrossFit Games?
What did she say? I think I know, but what do you know?
She told me.
We'll see.
We'll see. I don't even know if I'll believe it until she doesn't sign up for the Open. All right, in second, I have someone who almost surprised me a little bit, but I decided to put Danielle Brandon there. And I know that Danielle Brandon has been the center of some controversy, that she switched training camps like 2 weeks before the games. But I also think Danielle Brandon does really well when things are a little bit chaotic. She still flourished when she was relegated to that side lane when she came to the games with people who had COVID and had to be isolated from the rest of the field. She still did really well. So I think that sometimes that like little bit of distraction and chaos helps her dial in. And that might sound confusing, but I think for some people, having a little bit of a distraction that doesn't make everything be like so focused on the CrossFit can be beneficial. And I think she has that going on this year. And she looks super fit. She has the ability to be on the podium. She's been close before, and I think this is the year that she does it. I have her in second place. In third, I have Alexis Raptis. Alexis Raptis had a bit of an up and down year. We all expected her to easily qualify out of the Mayhem Classic. She did not, but she did well at Wodapalooza, ending up on the podium. I think that she has made some changes in her life, moving and being around different people. I think that she has the ability to dial this in, and she has the capabilities overall. She's very good at a lot of the things needed to excel at the games. And I think she's also pretty good at in-the-box things. She qualified through the in-affiliate semifinal. I think those people who are good at those like in-the-box things will do well at this year's CrossFit Games, where we're going to see more traditional CrossFit. And she's been doing this for a long time. She competed as a teenager as well, like someone like Dallin Pepper, and has really grown in this sport and really had to work hard to make that jump from the teenagers to the individuals. And I think the mentality it takes to get there is something that will help her to be able to overcome the adversity she may have at the games, to be able to excel there as long as health-wise everything is in check. So right off the podium in my fourth place position, I have Lucy Campbell. Lucy competed at the games once before, had a decent finish, nothing crazy. She injured her wrist, had to take years off, had to really rehab to come back. Didn't know if she would ever have the capabilities of competing at this level, and then has been incredibly impressive all season. She started out at Wodapalooza, where I will definitely say, I think no one chose her to even podium, let alone win the whole thing, over the 2023 CrossFit Games winner, Laura Horvath. And she did that. And then she went to her semifinal, and she won that as well. Lucy Campbell has won everything she's done this year. I don't think that's going to make me put her above Tia to win the games, but I think she's going to be close to the podium. I think she's going to have a top 10 finish, and I have her in the 4th place position. Now my 5th place athlete. This is a weird one because it's very different than where I see a lot of other people placing her. In 5th, I have Ariel Lowen. She is a big podium favorite from basically everyone else, or the majority of people. Why didn't I put her there? She's a fantastic athlete. She has impressed at the games many, many times. Like, it's almost a little bit dumb for me to put her where I did. But I just don't hear the things from her that I think I should be hearing from somebody who's going to podium.
He sees a difference in my intentionality. So before, training for the games was very much intentional. This is the stimulus. This is our peak, week 3. We taper off here, like very methodical. This year, I have 4 things I do. I move, I groove, I show up, and I improve. That's it.
Her head just doesn't sound like it's in it in the same way some of these other athletes' heads are. Sometimes that's beneficial. I kind of mentioned that with Danielle. Sometimes having distractions is beneficial. This isn't a distraction though. It sounds like she doesn't have the love for the games that she once did. And I understand there's a lot of people who feel that way. But I think that's going to reflect in her performance at the games. Could I be wrong? Sure. I could see her doing really well. But for now, I think she's going to be top 10, which is fantastic. But I don't think she has a drive to be in the podium this year. After that, in 6th, I have Haley Adams. We haven't seen as much Haley. She has been sort of, doing her training in the dark, working out behind closed doors, not posting as much, focused. I think this could be good for her. We've seen Haley go through so much, and she's done it so gracefully. I've been impressed by the growth of Haley Adams as an athlete and as a human being. And that's a pretty incredible thing. I put her in 6. Like I said, we haven't seen a ton of her. She wasn't quite where she would want to be at Mayhem, although she did okay in a very stacked field. And she qualified through an affiliate semifinals, so we didn't see her at another in-person semifinal. But it seems like she's been dialing things in. It seems like she's increased her strength by really working on her relationship with food. And I'm excited to see how continuing to be a happy Haley Adams does at the games again this year. And I put her in 6th. Haley Adams doesn't finish outside of the top 10. So that would be a surprise. Putting Haley in the top 10, it just makes sense. So that's where I'm going to put her. It would be awesome to see Haley end up on the podium one year, but I just haven't seen enough from her to do that this year. But maybe one year, maybe this year. After that, in 7th, I have Maddie Sturt. I know that Maddie Sturt made some incredible improvements working with Proven last year, going to the games, getting back to the games in 2024. And I think she's just continued that momentum this year. I don't know if it's enough to really improve upon how she did at the games last year in a significant way, like making it onto the podium because of the other people competing this year. But I do think that she's going to have a top 10 finish. After that, I have Abigail Domit. We've not seen a lot of Abby because she is another one who qualified out of Mayhem. Mayhem was so early, but that was her mission. She went into that being like, I'm going to qualify at Mayhem. I don't want to be doing multiple things. I don't want to qualify at an affiliate. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this one and I'm going to take it home. And she did it. And she's still so new to CrossFit compared to basically all of these athletes and is still getting so much better. And this is her 3rd consecutive year at the games. I just think that she's going to make some big improvements in leaderboard this year. In 9th, I have Brooke Wells, the retiring Brooke Wells. I think that she's going to want to go out on a decent performance. and put her in the top 10. I don't know, once you've decided to retire, depending on who you are, if you have that dog in you to battle it out for the podium. Some athletes do. Some athletes are like, I'm soaking this in for the last time. So I think she's going to do well. She looks good at her semifinal that she qualified at. But I don't think she's going to podium. 9th is where I have her. And in 10th, I have Olivia Kerstetter making her way back to the games, still so young and has so much growth to still do. But she is incredibly strong. Some of the events we've seen, like the back squat, is going to be fantastic for her. But she's also improved some of her weaknesses. She looks fitter. She looks better. She dominated at her semifinal, qualifying easily after taking a penalty online. I think that momentum is going to continue at the games. One more note, Alex Gazan, not competing. I think some people, based on some of the comments I saw in my last video, may have missed that. She had a pretty scary car accident and is injured, broke her leg, not competing at this year's CrossFit Games. If she was, I likely would have had her on the podium. But she's not going to be there. Wishing her a speedy recovery. Want to see her back at the games. She is still so young and has so many years to go if she wants. So I'm sure we'll see her back if she wants to be back, but not going to be this year. Although I really think she should have podium potential. We may see her back at WFP. She may have enough time to rehab and get back to a place where she is at a respectable strength for the end of August. So we might see her more this season, but not at the CrossFit Games. That's a wrap on my predictions. Let me know who you think is going to win, who you think is going to be on the podium, who I missed, some of my blunders. Please let me know. I appreciate you all for watching. I will see you in Albany with my vlogs or there in person. Please come say hi. I am very excited for the CrossFit Games and to see how this all goes down and to see all of you. All right, Carson, I'm not excited to leave my baby again though. Carson, hey, waking him up from his nap to say goodbye. He won't be in the Albany videos because he'll be here. Oh, hi, baby. But he'll be back once we get back from Albany because I'll still have more content then too. All right, see you next one in Albany.